I now want to at least amplify on some of the possible repercussions for the justices of Nigeria and otherwise if the decision of January 14th, flagrantly fraudulent, issued in bad faith, to deny a fundamental internationally recognized human right to self-government, to participate in elections that are freely and fairly conducted. We have in the United States a recent law called the Global Magnitsky Human Rights Accountability Act. And it does empower the President, at the request of the Secretary of State and various committee chairmen in the Congress, to list persons abroad to be denied visas, to have their assets frozen, to be excluded from commerce in the United States if they are complicit in internationally recognized human rights violations. And judges and justices are not shielded from that particular law. So that certainly would be a risk, in my judgment, to the Nigerian Supreme Court if this decision, flagrantly tainted, is not reversed. And it could impact not only the 7 justices who sat on the particular case, but the entire contingent of the Supreme Court. The whole institution has shown it is corrupted and compromised. Would encourage perhaps the others who weren't sitting to remind the sitting justices that there are others who would be impacted if they stood on their earlier fraudulent decision. It's also possible that you could have ordered an international investigation under the Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court. It's arguable that wholesale deprivation of the right to self-determination, the right of self-government, that has been witnessed by this decision is a crime against humanity. It violates Article 21 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. It violates Article 25 of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, and certainly that's something that should be in the minds, we believe, of those justices. It's not a threat, it's simply an encouragement, an incentive to do the right thing. We want this to be win-win. It would restore some luster to the Nigerian Supreme Court. To paraphrase Alexander Pope's essay on man, error is human, but to confess error is divine, right? So at least those are the spectrum, I think, of possible actions in the United States. There may well be congressional hearings from the House and Senate Foreign Affairs subcommittees on Africa to examine what's going on. Members of Congress have an interest in ensuring that the substantial military and economic aid that we're providing to Nigeria is being used by a country that respects the rights of its own citizens under its own constitution. And that's something that in the past our Congress has been quite willing to exercise oversight of the appropriations it's providing to foreign countries. That's kind of the spectrum that we have, but there's also an importance, I believe, and why the media is important, that the more that is written about this, the more that this rises to the surface of a very, very critical problem confronting the most populous country in all of Africa, whose instability could have ripple effects throughout the continent, not just West Africa, would be very constructive in influencing the Nigerian Supreme Court.